Hey everybody, it's been a while since I did a Facebook Live, and I just thought I'd do something a little bit different to some of the things I've done in the past, and really wanting to, if anything today, further elaborate on some of the things that I've already shared with most of you who have been following me now and been part of my team now for long enough to know that these are things that are foundational and really important. If obviously you ever have an interest to come and want to do some work together with me at some point in the future. And for those of you who have been working with me now for quite some time, you recognize and appreciate that I've repeated these 4 rules almost weekly with everybody, so that we can continue to just get that repetition and continue to be reminded of how we go about making our decisions when it comes to investing or reinvesting in whatever opportunity you may be involved in. So just want to say thank you to those of you who have decided to tune in this afternoon. It's 2:22 p.m. On Thursday the 13th of December. I hope you've all had a good week so far, and I just want to say hello to Nick Callan, who obviously said hello. Thanks for watching, mate. And anyone else obviously that decides to have a look at this Facebook Live at a later stage, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day or evening to have a bit of a listen to some of these things that I just want to cover off today. So I've got here up on my board here what the 4 rules are, as you can completely see them right now. What I want to do is just elaborate a little bit on these 4 things that I dare most of us are already familiar with, already make logical sense why you would give attention to these things if ever you were considering investing in any opportunity or business. And when I say that, in particular with rule number 1, this doesn't just apply, these 4 rules, to investing in something that's online based. This can also apply to investing and taking some money out of your savings, or borrowing some money from a family member or friend, or borrowing some money from the bank to start a traditional offline business. These same 4 rules or principles still will apply. So I'll give an example. If you, for example, wanted to go and open up a restaurant, you would obviously take a look at your different options of where you could open up your restaurant, and you would obviously need to do a bit of a business plan and work out how many meals you'd need to prepare and how many customers you'd need to have in the door each day, each week, and obviously why, so you can work out the income that will come in versus the overheads that are going to be required to make this business work and be a success. So, when you think about that process of opening up that restaurant, if you've gone and taken a look at the numbers and recognized the work that would be required over whatever given period of time, you would then need to then work out, if I have already got some funds available to help start this business, and if maybe perhaps I still need to borrow some money, for example, from the bank, then you do need to work out, if the business doesn't work out as planned and it does end up failing, unfortunately, because let's be honest here, it does happen in the small business world. I've been working with small businesses for the last 14 years, offering them digital marketing services, because that's something that I've had experience with now for quite some time. But the point being is that if you have gone and done those numbers, and you have worked out that, yes, you are going to have to borrow some money from the bank to help get this business up and running because you think it will do well, you believe it will do well, you then obviously will need to take a look at the associated costs or risks in borrowing that money from the bank. And if obviously that money that you borrow from the bank to help fund this business, and the business for whatever reason doesn't work out, and there's lots of different reasons why a business will fail, not necessarily because the food is bad at that restaurant, or the customer service is bad, or the location wasn't probably the best choice. I mean, you could have a member of the family fall sick and you can't operate the business anymore because you've got to go care for that member of the family. Or you could, injure yourself on the weekend while you're playing a game of footy with your children or something like that. So these are the sorts of things can obviously have a play on these types of situations. And so my point being, I think it's obvious, if you go and make a decision to borrow some money from the bank, and you're also accepting the fact that this business could fail or potentially have to shut down before we've made a profit, are you going to be in a position to take that risk, to borrow that money from the bank? Will you be able to service the money that you owe back to the bank over whatever period of time to compensate now and just accept that maybe this business 6 months later, 1 year later, 6 years later, I don't know, the business didn't work out and you now have to pay that money back to the bank? Is that money that you were prepared to risk and potentially see not work out in your favor or lose? If it's not money that you're prepared to risk and lose, you obviously, most likely, wouldn't even dream of starting that business and opening up that restaurant, would you? So again, the same principle applies with these online-based businesses. These online-based businesses thankfully don't require you having to go and borrow thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to start up a traditional style type business. You can start some of these online opportunities for a couple of bucks. And some of them, obviously, if you want to make a little bit more, because in the same line of thought, if you were to go and, for example, borrow, I don't know, say $100,000 to open up this restaurant, going back to that offline business example, if you were to borrow $100,000 from the bank to help start this restaurant, I'm sure we can safely say that if you went to borrow $1 million from the bank to open up this restaurant, as the saying goes, sometimes you need to spend money to make money. And traditionally speaking, again, if you were to think about obviously the associated benefits of if you were to go and borrow $100,000 to set up this restaurant or $1 million to open up this restaurant, again, one would like to think the reason why you're investing $1 million or borrowing $1 million from the bank is because you obviously are convinced that by investing that larger amount of money, you're also going to make a larger gain and profit. Not always the case, of course. I know that there are some businesses that have managed to start off with very little money and still go off to be very profitable and successful. However, obviously, we are looking at a situation now, going back to our online examples, where some people obviously appreciate that if I can invest a bit more, the returns are going to be a lot higher. Opportunities to profit are going to be a lot greater. So again, that sort of leads into our rule number 2. Because some people obviously have that view, have that attitude that, I wish I could put more into this thing because it looks like if I put more in, I'll get more of a profit and gain, which is true, but it also puts you in a higher position of risk, obviously speaking. So that being said, I know it probably doesn't make sense for me to have this as rule number 2, but over the 2 years now that I've been doing things with cryptocurrency in particular, I've been doing stuff online to make money online now for going on 4 years next month. But with crypto, it's only been 2 years. And because of the whole, stuff that goes through the media and obviously the stuff that happens in the world of crypto where people do make a lot of money with sometimes very little invested, some people get crazy and they take out second mortgages on their house, they sell their car, they use next week's rent money or next month's mortgage repayments that they shouldn't and be putting it into these things. And why? Because they think if they put in a larger amount of money, they'll gain more, but they forget the fact that they also put themselves in a higher position of risk as well. So rule number 2, don't do it. It needs to be funds and money that you're prepared, as you can see again from rule number 1, that you're prepared to risk and lose. And when I say that, I'm now at a point where I am having to tell people bluntly, point blank, and say to them, if they want to get involved in something that I'm doing, I ask them a very direct question and I say, look, this thing does require, obviously, you to come to a decision as to how much you're prepared to put on the table and risk and potentially lose. However, let me ask you, if you're telling me, for example, that you've got whatever it is, $50, $100, $1,000, whatever it is, okay? And you're telling me right now that that's money that you're prepared to risk and potentially lose. So is this money that you could take a match to, set it on fire, and you not be fazed? Because if it's not, you probably shouldn't put this money into this opportunity. You shouldn't invest and, proceed with this opportunity. Is this money that you're prepared to go and put into your toilet bowl and press the flush button and flush it down the toilet? I mean, like literally flush this money down the toilet, and you not be bothered by that? Again, if it isn't that type of money that you can just throw over your shoulder and walk away and not even bat an eyelid or think or be concerned, then if you don't have that sort of money to be literally throwing away, or a disposable income is what they call it, money that you would blow, on a Friday night down at the pub or at the bar having drinks with, after work drinks with your friends. That's the sort of money that we're talking about when I invite people to get involved in some of the things that I'm involved in. And if you do not have that sort of money where you can literally throw away and not be perturbed or bothered by that, I always tell people you might want to just, hold the reins there, come back later when you do have money that you're prepared to burn and lose. Because the reality of the situation is, as I've already explained on many occasions in some of my previous Facebook Lives, is there's nothing in this world, or that I'm aware of anyway, that is an opportunity or a company that is 100% secure, 100% safe, that you can completely trust that there's not going to be any issues whatsoever. And if anybody wants to make you believe that is the case, then you might want to reconsider having any sort of dealings or business experience or opportunities with this individual. Because for the time that I've been doing what I've been doing now in crypto, I've seen people go and look for things that are going to be, safe and secure, and I always try and invite them to adjust their attitudes, because at the end of the day, in my humble opinion, there's not even a day job that's 100% safe. To be honest, you could take a day job with a company, they hire you and offer you $100,000 a year, and you're enjoying this great paycheck every week for the next 6 months. And then what happens? This company, for whatever reason, loses some big clients, or they might not be able to obviously have enough revenue coming in anymore to afford to keep you on as a member of staff that they just hired 6 months ago, and they have to let you go. See what I mean? There's no such thing as safe, which is why we, we'll take a look at rule number 4 and how that applies as well as we go on. So rule number 3, always work towards and aim to recoup or recover your initial deposit first before you go and consider putting some more crypto or money in, or before you go and maybe do any sort of reinvesting. And again, you need to treat any money that you earn in whatever opportunity that you're in. And again, we go back to the traditional type business. You know, if you opened up this restaurant because you went and borrowed $100,000 from the bank and you're now earning this revenue coming in every week, you know, new people are coming in to taste your food and check out the ambience and the way that you've obviously fitted out this restaurant, you know, because they heard it looks beautiful inside, they want to come and check it out. As this money is coming in each week, it would only make sense. Would it go and take a portion, if not most of that money that you're earning each week and bring it back to the bank so you can minimize your risks? That if for whatever reason you come back, open up your restaurant one morning and this is in 6 months' time and the place has been set on fire. It's been burnt to a cinder. How are you going to make now your restaurant has been burnt down to the ground? How are you going to pay back the bank for all that money that you borrowed? Which is why the smart thing to do would be to make sure you pay back any money that you initially borrowed back to the bank as quickly as possible. This same principle applies in the world of making money online and crypto or whatever it is that you're interested in. So make that your goal and your first priority whenever you get involved in something online. I teach that to everybody that I work with. If you are going to put money in and you know you want to obviously build it up to a point where you're looking to make some good gains and some good profits, yes, everyone wants to make some good gains and good profits, but at the same time, wouldn't it be nice to be able to lay down at night knowing you've already got back the money that you had originally put in, so that if you do wake up in the morning and for whatever reason the opportunity is no longer there, the company is shut down, a government's come along and shut them down and freezed and seized all the assets, and I've seen that happen, or you know the owner of the company went and hired some people that went and started, you know, siphoning money out of the business and the owner didn't know, or hackers came along and hacked the accounts that were holding everybody's money. I've seen all of this happen, ladies and gentlemen, which is why, go back to rule number one again, you probably again should only be working with money that you're prepared to risk and lose if these potential outcomes were to transpire at some point. So again, these are the reasons why these rules are so important. And so we now go down to rule number four. Rule number four, again, something that I know not everybody is in a position to do straight away. And, you know, while it does make sense to, as they say, have a plan B, again, if we go back to the concept of opening up a traditional business like a restaurant, if the restaurant owner understands that there is the potential, yes, this business could go off and be a raging success and they make all this profit and make all this money, but at the same time, what would happen if, you know, the restaurant did get burnt down, or what would happen if someone came in and held the place up and didn't want to work more at this restaurant? So a smart business owner, and in particular of this restaurant that I'm using as an example, have a look at other options to also drive revenue and profits, so that if plan A doesn't work out, you've got a plan B. Now, when you think about the things that are available online, I have found myself involved in a number of different things because I do want to live by this fourth rule myself, so I can set an example for those who obviously I work with. And the idea, the smart way to obviously go about the process is, if say for example you were to go and put say $100 into one particular opportunity, and then you were to apply yourself to rule number three and get that $100 back out after a few weeks, maybe months, depending on what opportunity you're involved in, take that money that you've just gotten back out and stick it into something else that you may think has potential. That way you're not going and having to go and find new money to put into this second and new opportunity. You're basically just taking the money that you put into the first opportunity and making that money now go to work for you in the second. And the first opportunity now obviously is risk-free. Anything that comes after the fact that you've gotten your initial investment back out is now profit, and obviously enjoying profits for as long as whatever that opportunity is, continues on for. Now, when you obviously take a look at rule number 4, there's a number of different things that you can obviously entertain and consider. The best advice I can give you when it comes to looking at multiple opportunities and spreading your investments and spreading your risks, as you can see there, so you don't keep all your eggs in the one basket, is to look for someone that has already got a good track record of being involved in things that have been around for long enough. Because the reality of the situation is some of these things, unfortunately, never really last that long. You know, I've seen things disappear in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and I've also seen things go on for over a year. So at the end of the day, it's always being comfortable with the fact that you may need to move on to the next thing if whatever it is that you were previously involved in that was working for you is no longer bringing those profits and gains that you were enjoying for whatever period of time that you were. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you again for taking the time to watch this Facebook Live. I hope all of this makes complete and utter sense. I'm sure it does. But sometimes we need reminding, and sometimes we need to just expand on some of these things so that we can really just, you know, be sensible and intelligent investors, rather than hearing some of the horrendous stories that I've heard of people losing, you know, money on one particular company because they went and took out a second mortgage on their house and they had over $60,000 that they grew it to $1 million and lost it all because they didn't apply themselves to these 4 rules. And I can tell you right now, these 4 rules I've developed because of my own experience, unfortunately, not applying myself to these 4 rules. And so as a responsibility, as someone who is interested in other people, even though maybe you're watching this Facebook Live and you haven't really had a chance to speak with me before, or we haven't had a chance to interact with each other, you know, in the past, you've just accepted a friend request from me. Well, I am interested in human beings in general. And if I can help others from having to go and learn some hard lessons like I have, that's basically the goal and my intentions in sharing these 4 rules and doing this Facebook Live with you all today. So again, thank you again for taking the time to tune in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And I do have some more good stuff coming out very soon, some more Facebook Lives, which I hope you'll enjoy and benefit from. And if you have any comments, please feel free. You see the comment section below. And if you want to chat with me privately as well, feel free to send me an inbox. And I look forward to getting to know you better. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.